Hello, guys. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something that I saw and what I learned because of this. So, I saw this clip of a boy talking about how we have become too hyper aware of ourselves to the point where it has made us so self conscious and live in in our minds and more. See, but this is the thing. Now that I say that out loud, because I always believe that life is such a mental thing. But what if it's not? What if it's about being present? But it's just I'm also someone that lives very mentally. Like I observe myself, but I'm also like very much. I'll get back to this. Actually, I'm gonna scrap this whole thought that I just had, but focus on what I'm here to make. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I saw this video about a boy talking about how just self-aware people have become, that it's become so self-conscious that they don't live presently because of how they feel they should live through performative identity, through social media, through a life that their mind created. And I have a few answers to that. I have a few things that I noticed because of it, or I guess I should say my truth to it. So I think that is very true. I think that we do live too self-conscious sometimes, and we're afraid to be ourselves because how we were taught to be by others, but also within ourselves. And I think a lot of this comes down to perception, and being perceived is for the wrong reasons can be humiliating, can be shameful, can be embarrassing, can make us feel performative, like that's not something we have a right to be. And that makes us live up here, think that or I guess makes us not be present with ourselves, with who we truly are, because we feel that we have to perform this life, this way of being, this imagined audiences in our head telling us, oh, don't do that, that's cringy, or oh, I shouldn't do this because that's humiliating, or oh, if I do this, that's everyone's gonna laugh at me, or that's embarrassing, right? And I think all this, and that's why that causes us to be performative, be too self-conscious of what we say, what we do, what we wear, what we think, because of these habits that we were taught by just our environment, society, the world, the internet, everything like that. Like it literally all just comes down to that. And so I don't think that awareness is a bad thing at all. I don't think that being too hyper aware of yourself is like it depends on to what level, but I think that being aware of how you act and your patterns and your habits and the things that you do can can be dangerous if you're not using that to improve yourself, and you're just always on a loop, self-consciously analyzing everything and being like, oh, I'm very aware, I'm self-aware, but you never notice the bad qualities of yourself because you think you're perfect, that I guess I could say that that's bad. But I don't know, I think awareness is very important. It really is, especially as someone that thinks a lot about themselves and learned from my patterns and habits and ways of thinking. I was able to change my life myself and be authentically and genuinely myself and live presently. I think I live very presently because of this changing my idea of perception and what I used to think was cringy and humiliating, performative, extra dramatic, whatever, fake. I used to think that, and then I changed it and I started to think well, no, this is genuinely what I like to do, so I'm gonna do it. And I focused, and I became more happy because I was presently doing something that I liked, instead of obsessing over if it was performative or humiliating or embarrassing. I just did it because I liked to do it, you know? And I think I could use, like, for today. Today's an example. I'm at the park and I get a little scared when people like walk past me. There hasn't been anyone that walked past me yet, which is like really exciting and happy. I'm like comfortable and safe. But I think that if someone were to walk past me right now and watch me make this video and talk about this and hear what I'm saying, I would become like in my head, I'd be like, oh my god, are they hearing what I'm saying? What do they think? And just overanalyze it. But really, like, if I just continue talking about this topic and, you know, sharing my truth about it without worrying about everyone else, just being presently in this moment, which I am trying to, hopefully I stay with like that, then that's like the end goal. That's the strivingness that I'm trying to strive for. But I hope that made sense. Like, okay, I think, yeah, so I guess to answer that video where he was like, we have become too self-conscious and too aware of ourselves with this, because of this, you know, identity that we created through social media, through relationships that we've had, through thoughts that we think, and the life that we have, the life that we live in our minds instead of presently. I think it's genuinely because of what we were taught and what we learned should not be done in front of others, what's embarrassing, what's humiliating, what's shameful, what's this, that, the third, right? And I think that's the issue. It's just that we live too much in our yeah, I guess that's what he was saying, that we live too much in our heads, but that's why, because of all these things. And I think the solution to this is, and to, I guess, his point of not being present and how to be present, I would say, is doing what you love. Like, I think that being genuinely yourself and true to what you love to do and not living too much in your head is just doing it. Like, to be cringe is to be free. Just do it, you know? And these, like, emotions of humiliation, embarrassment, these feelings that we have, it takes a lot. Like, I know I'm saying this and it's like, grr, this grr, but like, so I know it takes like a lot of strength of will strength. But truly, like, if you want to be someone that lives authentically and genuinely and just yourself, instead of this cultivated performative identity that you think you should live, it's 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 not gonna work if it's always just happening in here and never here. You know what I mean? Like, if you're someone that's actively trying to chase authenticity and become genuine and, you know, your true self, it's about doing what you love regardless of how you feel and staying present in the moment. There are people walking by, so let's see how I act. No, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, for sure, that's literally it, I think. I don't know. I feel like this is so short, and I usually talk for a long time, but maybe it's because I'm outside that's making me like a little nervous. But I think I said all that I wanted to say about this. I'm gonna read what I wrote though, just in case that gives you like a little more insight on how I thought about this and what are my thoughts on this. Okay. So I said, to be cringe is to be free. So every time I find myself doing something embarrassing, performative, humiliating, that is me being cringe. To do something you really like, but second guessing the perspective of the people viewing said thing. So that was my like definition of cringe. And then I wrote, cringe often exists between the action and the imagined audience. I think, yeah. So we create this imagined audience, or like we live in our head a lot because of what we think is right and wrong, what's humiliating and all that. And how it's the awareness of being perceived that makes us feel cringe. Okay, so then I wrote this. That being said, I'd love to make this a YouTube video how people become too hyper aware of themselves that they start to become too self conscious, worried about how others view them, what they were taught to judge about themselves, what was cringy in others and in themselves, and who and how they were supposed to perform or be because of this. But all of this is really imagined. It is a imagined audience that they create. And awareness isn't the issue, it's actually necessary for growth. Hyper self consciousness keeps people from living presently and being genuinely free, living presently. So that was that on that. And then I said, oh, because I saw a comment that said, like, oh, hyper, no, being aware of awareness is an illusion of depth. And so that made me, like, think, like, oh, what do they mean by that? Because as someone who, I would say I'm very aware, I was like, and I always thought that that was like deep, like that was my depth, right? And so that made me think like, ooh, like is this an all an illusion? And then I thought about it and I was like, well, first, and then I wrote, well, firstly, awareness is not a problem, it's necessary for growth. And I don't think they meant that all awareness is an illusion. I think that they meant when people aren't aware of their loops and they think that they're so self-aware that like they don't change anything about them, they just notice patterns, but they don't notice that they need to change those patterns or create new patterns. I think that's what they might have meant by an illusion of depth. But yeah, I think that's it. Like I don't think there was any, like I hope that was all that I thought about. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, any of your own truths to what I said, let me know in the comments. And you know what? I will say I think I did I did this very presently. And once again, I am proud of myself. This was amazing. I loved it. And it wasn't all that. Like, I was so, like, overwhelmed at the beginning. I was like, people are gonna stare at me. People are gonna hear me. I'm gonna, like, whatever. And now that I did it, it's like, oh wow, like it was that easy. So I guess that's the message. Um, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.